want to kind of talk to you guys tonight about my continuation on my series of counterfeiting. Now, I got a couple goodies here to share with everybody. As you can see on my screen here, I've got a couple different Morgans sitting here. One of them is real, or two of them are real, one of them is fake. We're going to kind of talk about those. I also reached out to a contact and was able to get a replica trade dollar, replica 1877 Indian head cent. And I want to be talking about these particular coins, what the makeup of the coins is, how they're put together. I'm going to talk about identifying the differences between the coins, looking at things like, what do you look for? And there's a lot of great content out there. We have, when you look at, people who really understand, you can't compete with like Blue Ridge, you can't compete with Coin Help You or Live Coin Q&A. These people have years and years and years practical coin hobby experience, owning or running coin shops, and they have phenomenal information. But what I want to do is I'm not here to compete with anybody. What I'm here to do is to share information and just get out as much as I can, so people can really understand what is it that you need to see, what is it about the coin. There's little tips and tricks to identify a fake, but what is it that you can do to really combat this issue that's plaguing sites like eBay and Etsy and things like that. So I want to start by talking about, first off, the Morgans, right? Morgans are one of my favorite coins. Absolutely love these. And when you talk about specifics, when you talk about what is a Morgan, what is it made of, and you talk about, weight, diameter, things of that nature. You know what the weights are supposed to be, 26.73 grams with a tolerance of 0.097 grams. They're supposed to be like 38 or 39 millimeters in diameter with a thickness of like 2.5, I believe. And so there's a lot of information that is out there, and there's a lot of ways to identify some of these things. But what I want to do is I kind of want to show you. So this coin right here, this is a 1900 Philadelphia. And I apologize for the lighting, so I'm going to try and tip it up so we don't get any refraction on this. But when you look at this, one thing that you're looking at is how strong is the strike, right? And so when you look at this coin, I mean, it's pretty clean, right? There's some really good solid lines. The lettering is thick, it's bold, there's good stamps. And you can see a lot of just really good detail. Now, this coin is a little bit more worn down, but when you look at the lettering, again, you see nice, thick, solid lettering. And even though the eagle is worn down a little bit here, there's still a really good, solid impression. Now, I'm going to put this coin up here. And when you look at this, there's just something that doesn't feel right about the way that this coin looks. When you look at the lettering is not nearly as bold. It's not nearly as thick. There's kind of a really thin, like minimalist look to it. And there's some other things that I'm going to talk about here in just a few moments. But when you look at it, I mean, it's just one of those things that it just doesn't look right. And again, I'm going to put this other coin back on top of it. You can see how much more full it is. When I stick them next to each other, they look fairly close. But when you look at the lettering, you can see like how much more the word states it stands out, how much more apparent it is. Now, you can always do things like the ping test, right? Which if you tap the coin if you tap the coin, and it's going to be hard for me to do that, but if you tap it, you can hear the really, really high tingy sound. Whereas it's kind of and again, I apologize, I don't have I don't know where I put my device to hold the coin, but it's kind of it's kind of a thicker, fuller, lower tone, where this is a much, much, much higher sound. But what I want to do is I want to get into, I'm going to drop this down. And I want to get really close into the coin. And what I want to do is I want you to kind of look at this surface area, the field, and look at, I apologize for this. There you go. Okay. So I want to look at the field, and I want to look at the kind of makeup in the coin. So when you look at the surface area of this coin, you see a lot of scratches, you see a lot of marks and things of that nature, but you see a kind of a flat, steady, solid looking piece of metal, right? There's no machine marks. There's no real like tooling marks that you can see in this particular coin. Now I'll put this one over here. Now this one is, and I apologize, this one's going to be in a plastic item, so you're going to see a little bit of the lighting there. But when you look at this, you can see that the lines are uniform, and you can see the planchet marks. They all are steady. It's clear. It's one solid piece. And there's not, again, you don't see any of those tooling marks and things of that nature, right? Now, I'm going to bring out the counterfeit coin. And I want you to look at this very carefully, because if you look at this, you can see the tooling marks within the field of that coin. And if I get in a little bit closer and really kind of zoom in here, you can really see kind of like the pattern of the machine that milled this coin. So, and if you look around the edges, every edge has kind of like a capture of material, right? And you can see where the marks have been cut down. So this definitely hasn't been stamped or pressed. You can see that this coin has definitely been machined. Now, what you see here is another telltale indicator, because Morgan dollars are supposed to be, silver. They're not supposed to be brass and have a brass kind of copper-looking undertone with the lamination that's happening on the dipped silver of this particular coin. But when you look at when you look at this, I mean, you just look at it, you can see that there's so many machining marks all through this coin. It just doesn't even come close to looking like this one, right? I mean, you just don't see that. It's just not the same. You can see planchet marks and things of that nature, but it's these are impressions that are happening within the metal when the planchets are put together. But you're not seeing the actual machine that is happening with the particular coin. Now, I'm going to raise this back up, and while I do, first off, I want to say hi to Annette. Thank you for joining. I appreciate you coming in. But the one thing that I want to kind of point at is I want to talk about this coin. Now, this coin, I bought it as a fake. It cost me about $20. I reached out to a gentleman that does reproductions, and I said, I want you to generate a few coins for me, because I'm doing a series on counterfeiting, and I really want to kind of teach people about the things that they need to look for, what's there, what's present. And when you look at the coin, and I'll tell you, honestly, I don't mind the look of this coin, right? It's a pretty coin. And when you look at it, if you know this is a replica, and this is something that you're okay with owning, this is something that you're really fine with, then good for you, right? The amount of time it took whoever generated this coin, and we can get into a big discussion about where they came from or where they originated, but there's so much that you can do with this um, printing process, and you got these laser machining processes. Um, you have these mills that you can put the template of a coin. You can take a real Morgan dollar, put it down, and then you can have a machine basically go over it, and it'll mirror an exact copy. And so when you talk about the craftsmanship of some of these, it's getting really, really difficult with the technology to pick out the differences. And in order to see a lot of them on these coins, you have to have a microscope. You need to have the ability to weigh it. So I'm going to put it over here real quick. Let me shift my camera to this. Shift my camera over here real quick, and I'm going to put this on the scale. I don't know if you can see that because of the light. I can, so I'm going to see if I can move this over. Maybe I can put that. Maybe I can put that here. Put that on the scale. Let's do that. I think that'll be better. Okay. So when you're looking at the weight, and again, I apologize for the. There we go. Okay, so when you're looking at the weight here. And it comes out at 26.4 grams. So it's not where it's supposed to be. It's a little bit under. It's underweight. It's not quite to where the tolerance should be. And that alone should flag you to the fact that it is a counterfeit coin. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to take this to the next level. And I wanted to actually tell you kind of what the coin is made of. And then I want to talk to you about why they make certain coins in that particular type of metal. So this is an exact replica of the 1894 S mark. Okay. And again, when you look at the S on the other ones, it's a little bit more pronounced. This one's pretty small. But again, all in all, it's a pretty good it's a pretty good replica. If you were to look at this in a coin holder or something like that, you'd be hard pressed, unless you handle these a bunch, to know that this was a replica. Now, later on in the stream, and stay tuned, because I'm going to be showing you what could be a very, very, very costly mistake for a replica coin. And he wanted to show me just how easy it was to create something that could easily be intended to fool people. And so I'll be getting to that in here just a little while. But this particular coin is a 1 ounce silver plated brass. And the reason that they use brass is, if you search up properties of brass, what you're going to find is that there's a couple things that make it really convenient for people to utilize brass as a metal. Number one, brass is a mixture of copper and zinc. So if you think about it, if you have an old penny hoard and you have some new pennies, which are made out of copper and zinc, then you have the material to make brass. And so for literally just a few cents, you could melt down a stash of pennies and create the planchet that you would need to make this particular coin, right? And so it's really easy. It's a really cheap metal to make. And because of it, I mean, the availability is there, right? The products are there. It's really easy to gain access to. Now, the other reason that it's really brass is such a big thing is, if they were to make it, if they did a silver coated copper, one of the problems with copper is that Copper tends to be um, good for, connectivity and things of that nature. Um, and it doesn't deform or things of that nature, but it does corrode, right? And so you get a kind of a greenish, hueish copper color um, if you start to see that degradation of the materials. The other thing is that with that you get a reddening of the metal underneath. And so earlier I showed you that there's a small spot on the planchet that has like a lamination where the silver dipped has started to come off, and so it's actually started to flake off the coin. If this were put on brass, that would show up even more, so it would stand out like a sore thumb. Whereas uh, with the brass, it doesn't deteriorate. It kind of turns a little bit darker color, and so when you look at that, you wouldn't see it. It wouldn't stand out as easy as it would if it were on just pure brass, or excuse me, pure copper. Now, the other reason that brass makes a really good component for this is that one, it's non-magnetic. So if you're looking at coins and they were to do something, let's say that they use bronze. Well, bronze is partially what they call ferromagnetic, and so it has a kind of an iron-based item in it, and or I think it's made out of tin and copper, and so there's a very light hint of magnetism to that particular coin. And so because brass is non-magnetic or non-ferromagnetic, meaning it doesn't attract the iron in it, then it's much easier to reproduce a replica that's non-magnetic, and thereby eliminating one of the means by which to identify that this is in fact a fake coin. So I wanted to share that with you. Now, there's a bunch of different alloys and grades of brass, and so depending upon how well or how tight you wanted this to be, you could get different alloys. Um, I was in the Navy years ago, and we used alloy 464, which they call Navy brass, which is extremely good against corrosion from seawater and things of that nature. But would they go that route? I don't think that it would be that big of a concern for them to look at all the various metals and get down to the specific alloy. Um, it may be of a concern, but I think just your architectural brass or your free cutting brass would probably be good enough to make the planchets. And so I think that's one reason that they utilize. Now I say think because there's a lot of different chemical compositions. There's a lot of different ways to do the electroplating and things of that nature. So there's a lot of stuff that I'm just not caught up on or aware of. And so um, I just, I want to give you the information that I have. The other coin that I asked him to get for me was something that, first off, when I saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, that's horrible. And that is this coin. And that is an 1877 Indian Ed penny. Now, this one, I mean, just immediately looking at it, the color of it, the chemical makeup of it, it was just horrible. When you get in close and you look at it, oops, wrong way. When you get in close and you look at the details on Liberty, I mean, for a coin that looked as nice as it did, and you look at Liberty, I mean, look at the lettering. It's just absolutely horrible. When you look at, again, when you look at the field in this, you can see how machined it is. That edge is not clean. You can see how wavy. I mean, look how horrible the wavy the lines of the date are. I mean, this is a horrible reproduction. So something like this would be really easy to identify, whereas the Morgan dollar was a much, much better replica and would be harder to identify, especially if it were in some sort of case. Hey, constitutional stackers in the house. I appreciate it. Thank you. But yeah, I mean, if you look and just look at that, I mean, this coin really shouldn't be fooling anybody. Um, but again, these are things you really have to look at, right? Because you can tell. I mean, if you were somebody that was really eager and you were just looking at this and it was in a fake case, somebody may not look at it very closely. But these are definitely things that you need to look at. Now, the back, there were a couple things on the back that kind of stood out. Um, and that was some of the details when you look at um, the wreath. Again, this coin was supposed to be in really good shape. And when you look at some of the details, they're just not there. It's not sharp. They merge together. Again, you can definitely see the tooling marks and things of that nature. And so it's just this is a really bad representation of a fake Indian head penny. Now, the one that I wanted to share with everybody, and this is again, this is um, in a plastic planchet. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to shift my other camera, and I'm just going to hold this one up to the camera. So this is a replica trade dollar. Now, for anybody who knows my story, knows that as I started doing this and working on this book right here, which is my typeset album, the one thing I wanted to get was I wanted to get a trade dollar. Now, this is an 1876, and I have all the details for this particular coin. Now, this coin weighs the exact same weight as a Morgan dollar. Now, this one should weigh more. It should be like 27.65 grams. This one weighs 26.5 or something like that. But again, when you're looking at the details on these particular coins, and I'm going to go ahead and go back to the scope. When you're looking at the details within these coins, I mean, just look at how soft the features are, right? You don't see a lot of that good solid detail. You have the basic gist of the frame. You have some of the items, but for as good as shape as this coin is supposed to be in, it's just not done very well. When you look at the point of the finger, instead of it being clean and detailed and rounded off, the shape of the hand, the way that liberty, again, when you look at the word liberty and you look at the lettering, look at the R. And so you can see some of these things, and you can see how they'd fool somebody by just the look. But again, you need to really kind of look at some of the specific details. But I want you guys to understand what you need to look at and what it is that you need to search for. Now, I'm going to keep these coins, and I'm going to keep these coins, and they're going to be marked very clearly as fake. So they're not going to be kept with my other coins. But I'm going to keep a large number of fake coins. Number one, so that as people that I know are interested in coins and want to look at it, I can show them the difference between the two. There's one coin that I want to share with everybody here in a minute, and it's going to be really interesting. Constitutional, I know that you're at work, but I'm going to show you something here in a minute that I think you'll find really fascinating. I've got some specific information for you. So I pulled this one out, had this one specially made just for you. And so I'll be getting to that in just a few moments. I also want to share that with, I mean, see, look at the M in America and look at the E. Look at how crooked the lining is in this. I mean, it's just, the details just aren't there. It's a good looking coin. And when you talk about craftsmanship, then, I mean, for what they've got here, if this was something that was hand engraved or something that was built, again, you can see the silver coming off of the planchet there. If this was a silver coin, you wouldn't see delamination like that. It just doesn't happen, right? So I want people to be aware of that. So Constitutional, before you leave, I'm going to go ahead and share this a little bit early. So I got to raise this up and get this in. So what I had him do And I did this because he told me that it's not that difficult. And I was like, well, explain to me what you mean. Look at this thing. Okay, now it's in a container. And I apologize for the lights on here, but I'm not taking it out of the container. There's a reason I'm not going to do that. I'm going to explain that. But this coin, you should see what that is. 1907 Godden's Double Eagle. Now, if this coin were real, this would be a $45,000 coin. Okay, in this condition, and it's about mint state 65. Now, instantaneously, anybody who understands the Goddens and the Double Eagles would recognize this immediately as a fake coin. Number one, the date isn't listed that way. The dates would be in Roman numerals. So you wouldn't see this as a 1907. You would see the Roman numeral item here. Okay, now, Annette, yeah, exactly. Wow, right? It's crazy. But the thing is that people pull these things off as original all the time. Okay, now the other thing is, and I'm gonna try to hide some stuff because I don't want to share it, but you're gonna see something here in just a second. See that? That is a real QR code, and it actually takes you to a certain site. You see these replicas, these images, you know exactly where those are coming from, right? So here's another item within this that shows that this is counterfeit, and that is the In God We Trust, because the In God We Trust doesn't happen. The In God We Trust logo wasn't put on numismatic coins, I believe, until the 60s or maybe the 50s. And so this is another telltale sign that this is in fact a fake coin. Now comes the kicker. Okay. This is in an NGC graded container. Okay. Now, if you were to look up this particular item, it would come up as a MS65 Plus 1907 high relief $20 red. And it would show you this coin. Now, the date is incorrect. That date isn't there. And on purpose, now I want you to guys understand that this is on purpose. The label on this was created incorrectly. And it was done by design, number one, because my intent isn't to fool anybody. My intent is to show people the things that you need to look for. Okay? So I'm going to lay this flat. Actually, let me prop that up real quick. Use another fake coin to prop that up. It's still not working. Let's see if I can prop something else real quick. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave that here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the NGC site. And Annette, if you're on your computer, I don't know if you're on a computer or on your phone, but if you're on your computer, you can go to NGC verification. And then you can click on the second item, which is verify NGC certification. And then what you can do is you can put that number in. So you put 3319472-013 and leave that MS grade 65. And if you see what comes up on the screen, so let me share this with you. Let me share my screen real quick. And I'll show you, this is what you should be seeing. Okay. And so, but what I want to show you is I want to show you this. Okay. So this is why I said when I did this, it's by design. So I apologize for the delay. If you look, remember, if you look over here and you see that the way I look at the right hand side of the screen, the two images on the left, if you look at the top, you'll see where it says the 1907 high relief, but it's center justified. Okay. This is in the middle. And you can do this on your phone another time. And I got it on the screen, so you can go ahead and watch it here. But when you look at this, again, I had this label done specifically for a reason, and that is so that the intent here is not to deceive anybody. The intent here is to show people some things that you can look for within, whether it be eBay or Etsy or listings of that nature. These things are things you need to look for, right? These are some of the subtle differences that happen. So number one, if you look at the NGC label, and you look right here in this area, you're going to see that the information on this particular coin is, and this is the actual NGC. Okay. You can see that if you look at the one on the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see that the NGC label goes all across. Hey, just stack it. Thanks for coming in. Right now we're talking about the Double Godden's counterfeit coin that I had. I shouldn't say counterfeit coin, replica coin that I had put together for this example to kind of talk about things that you need to look for, especially if you're doing things like stacking gold or silver and you're trying to buy encapsulated. Some of the items you need to look for because, this is a huge problem when it comes to eBay and Etsy and Facebook or any of those other marketplaces. So when you look at the item over here on the right-hand side, you will see that the information is all there. MS65 plus, here's the number on the coins on the left-hand side, upper left-hand box. You'll see the numbers are all the same. It's all there. But here are the differences. Number one, the coin on the left is all center justified. But the actual NGC label, the proper NGC item for this is left justified. Okay, when you look at the scale, I know you can't see it very well in this particular image because of the plastic, but when you look at the watermarks here and here, actually this coin over here on the left, and the items within this look very similar. Now they don't have quite the detail, and when you look at it, you can still see some of the information, but this, you don't see the lines in this one just because it's done too light. So you really don't see the whole scale image here. And again, it's on the right-hand side. So this one, it's center justified. This one is left-hand justified. Okay. And then when you're looking at the coin itself, so I'm going to shift this coin up and I'm going to go ahead and put it here. Now, again, I'm trying to do this to where you have the label. You're looking at the date. So if you look at this, I mean, clearly you can see the date is not listed as 1907. It is Roman numerals, right? And it's important to understand when you're looking at old coins, understand what it is that, no, you didn't inspire this constitutional stacker. I did this because I wanted people, when you're talking about stacking gold, like trading silver in for gold and that when you're looking for gold, because the price of gold is so high, especially when you're dealing with a coin like this that rates out at about $45,000, it's really, really important that you understand exactly what you're looking for. Because like here where I'm located, I don't have a lot of coin shops to go to. So I have to rely on, people with their good graces and hope that I'm not yanked around. Now, there are some good sites. There are people online. And I talk about, dealing with you. I talk about dealing with Salivate Metals. There's a lot of good people. The Coin Info Help, Blue Ridge Stacker. You talk about some of those, Silver Stacker. I mean, there's so many guys and gals that just are really smart in this. And if you're going to do that, you need to make sure that you utilize their knowledge base before trying to get into things. And so what I wanted to do in the creation, and again, I had this made and it only cost me like $35. And there were some very specific things that I asked for to prove that it was fake. But I wanted to do that because I wanted to give you guys information that it's really easy to get these things done. And if we're going to combat counterfeiting in our hobby, we really need to understand just how easy it is to get it done. And we love technology, but technology has created a lot of problems that the skilled craftsmen of yesteryear, there were a few of them. Some of them, they did a really good job. And when you're looking at some really old Morgan dollars. Now, there are some old Morgan dollars that they fooled NGC, they fooled PCGS for many years. They were so good in their counterfeiting that they absolutely had them fooled. And it wasn't until they looked at some of the varieties, in which what I talked about in one of my other episodes, when you're looking at some of the O's, Prince, I think it was the 1900 or the 1902 O mint marks, where they started seeing specific things in the fields that were the same across multiple years. And that doesn't happen. It may happen in the same year, but it doesn't happen across multiple years. But this one I wanted to have developed and created specifically to show people just how easy it is for people to game and fool the system. Now, the gentleman that did this for me did something that I had asked him to do, and that is do this QR code. So what I'm going to do is, and I don't know if you're going to be able to see my phone, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go in and I'm going to click on that QR code, and I'm going to click on it, and it's going to open me up to pcgs.com. Now, I don't know if you can see that. Let's see if you can see that. But this is actually the information for a $50 American Buffalo. Okay, so why am I showing you this? Well, number one, I thought it was hilarious because if you look at this particular coin, it's not a $50 gold Buffalo, right? And so I wanted to throw a little bit of humor out there, because if anybody was to ever see this and scan that QR code, they'd be like, oh, there's no way that's real. Now, I'll never take it out of this particular package. And I told you that I'm not going to remove this because he creates this certificate of authenticity that says that he has created this, deemed this as a replica. It is not real. And so if you go to his site and you look up that information, it'll tell you that it is a reproduction. It'll tell you that it's not real. And so I'm never going to take it out of this container. But I wanted to just take a little bit of time and kind of walk through this and make sure that you guys kind of had just some additional information and just kind of talk about some of those things that we need to do within the hobby. And just, again, just share with you just how easy it is to get something like this done. So with that being said, I'm going to kind of go back through and look at some of these comments. While I've been doing this, it's been very hard to kind of do this. But let me tell you a little bit about the makeup. So first off, Annette, you're new at learning. I'm glad you're here, okay? We're all learning together. This is something that, this is how we build community. One thing that I said in another one of my presentations is that I don't own a coin shop. I'm not a gold or silver trader. Okay, I don't deal in bullion. My job is process improvement, and I work in the medical field. And so my world doesn't revolve around the handling of coins day in and day out, right? I know what a Morgan dollar feels like. I can touch it and feel it, and I know what it feels like. But that's only because I have one and I feel it. When I hold this coin, it doesn't feel right. It just doesn't have that tactile sensation as this coin. Now, there's only a couple of people online, and I know a lot of my buddies would be like, where's your glove? And, it is what it is, but I'm not worried about this coin. The nicer one is in a sheath. I'm not going to be touching this coin, but this is in my typeset book, and I'm not sweating it. But yeah, that's why we're here. I mean, we're here to kind of learn and to share information, right? Coin Crew, hey, I'm glad you're here. See, now you want to talk about people who know coins forwards and backwards. These two, Mr. and Mrs. Coin Crew, they're brilliant. They've got so much great information on their page. Go check out their streams. They just hit 10,000 subscribers, which is amazing. But yeah, so Coin Crew, when I say I know what it feels like, when you feel this coin, it's about an ounce lighter than this one. This one has a very machined edge, so it's a very, very sharp edge. Um, it's smooth and flat. Even this one that is 115 years old, it has more tactile stuff to it. But yeah, you're just a guy who knows a lot about coins. Hey, Philip, nice to have you here. Thanks for coming in. But again, it's just, there's so many good people within this realm, and I'm not going to pretend to know everything. Colonel Klink, I think was what Coin Crew is referencing when he says, "I know nothing." Right? I don't know if you guys know Colonel Klink. Let me know if you know who that is. But I want people to be smart about this. I want people to understand just how easy it is to get these replicas, and just how easy it is to see, this stuff that's on there. I want people to be able to understand, what's the chemical makeup of this. So we go back to this one, right? This fake one, and this one drives people crazy. So Coin Crew, this will be something that you're interested in as well, if you haven't seen this already. So I had this label made up for this particular, it's a double Goddens. Okay. And the screen on the right here is the coin. Okay. It's $23. You can get it for $23. Okay. And when you look at the information, when you're looking at the actual weight of the information, that's what this is. It's gold-plated brass. It's gold-plated brass. It only weighs 21 grams. It's and it shows you what it's supposed to be. But the grade here doesn't match what's actually on NGC. Now this is the NGC version, and when you look at it again, right, the labels aren't the same by design. I asked them to do it that way for a specific reason. And but I just wanted to get somebody to understand, what do they look like? What are the things that we need to find? Because as people see these things, we need to be reporting these. Now, I don't remember if it was you, or if it was Coin Help You, or if it was Blue Ridge, that talked about when you find these kinds of things, report these numbers to NGC and PCGS so that they can resolve these particular issues. Because, if they go to search this particular item and it's not there, then, oh yeah, Alibaba, anything in Alibaba is fake. But, report these things to PCGS or NGC so that they can remove these items from the registry, or change something from the registry so that they can identify those things. So that was basically all I wanted to talk about tonight. And again, I wanted to open the floor up for conversation. I don't know if Stack It, Coin Crew, Constitutional, I know you're at work, you probably can't do it, but if anybody's interested in joining me and having more conversation regarding these coins and combating, how to combat and what to do within counterfeiting to help us remove that or do that from the hobby, let me know, and then I can invite you in. Other than that, I think that this is just going to be a pretty short live stream. So again, I can't recommend these guys enough. When you're looking at Coin Help You, they've got a great library. The Coin Crew, again, go check out their videos. They got some great stuff there. If you're looking to buy bullion, if you're looking at things like understanding, what gold denomination is, or how to set stuff up, or how you want to stack, or ideas and different things. There's so many good stacking folks. Yeah, just stack it. We'll have to coordinate this. And again, this is only my second live stream, so I appreciate you guys joining in. Um, and as I work with more content, learn more information, I'll find more things to do and find more ways to engage. But again, I just wanted to share this with everybody. I just wanted to talk about the things that I put together. I'm going to be looking at more ways to do this. I've ordered some additional Morgans to look at things that are going to come in different weights and different metals to kind of work about the chemical makeup. I appreciate you, Coin Crew. Yeah, I know you were. I appreciate the shout out on Salivate Metals live stream too. Had a couple subs from that, so I appreciate you throwing my name out there during that. Oh, of course, Annette. Yeah, anytime. And if you have any questions, again, I can't mention these guys well enough. There's so many good men and women in this hobby that are just there to answer questions. There's no reason any question should go unanswered, especially with these folks. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Again, thank you for your time. Thank you for joining. And y'all take care. Have a good night. And we will catch you on the flip side.